Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everybody. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and to another instalment in the N-scale railroad build in my workshop. If you watched the previous instalment, you will have seen me get the prerequisites done to start on an area of scenery. This week I'll continue where I left off, get some plaster cloth on it, and to do all the rock carving. So without further ado, let's just get out into the workshop and get busy. Enjoy the show. Anyway, the task for today is to finish stacking up the foam blocks. I think before I do that, I'm going to carve some rough shapes in what I've already got, just to see what it looks like. Well, I have now built up this escarpment by the two tunnels. The next thing I've got to do is get a lid on this triangle of the Winslow scene. And here it is. I've already cut it to shape. I'll put it in place in just a moment. I had to cut a rebate out of the back along the front edge and around the end where it fits on top of the wood. And I put a couple of blocks in the back to put up to the right height. Ignore the grey stains, that's because I got the glue on that piece the wrong side. And then that fits in there like that and will be glued on all edges. And then I'll just build that up to the right contour afterwards. So I'm just going to get that glued in place and then I will continue with the other side of the valley. Let me do that and I'll be right back. Don't go away. Well, I think that is enough foam in that area. I've got a good idea in my head as to what the final shape's going to be, and I think I have filled the whole volume that I need to. And tomorrow when the glue is nice and hard, I will come back out and carve it to shape. This section from that joint onwards is not part of the scenery that I'm doing, but I wanted to stack the foam up there just to give a feel for how the scenery is going to continue on to the next section. Anyway, all I can sensibly do now is wait. So don't go away, I will be right back. Well, it is Thursday afternoon. I had to do some errands in town today, and I worked inside this morning. Yesterday I left it with all the foam blocks stacked up. Today I'm going to get everything carved to shape and hopefully also apply the plaster cloth. I do think I want to put another retaining wall in at that point, so I think I will do that first, or at least get it roughed in, get it worked out before I cut the foam. It might be best if I don't actually glue it on until I finish shaping the foam so that the vibration from the oscillating saw doesn't move them. So anyway, let me do that and I will be right back. Don't go away. Well, that is all the foam carved and the mess vacuumed up. I think I am pretty happy with the shape of it. What usually happens is that I get the plaster cloth on and then I find a few areas where I need to adjust it. But that is just the nature of the job. I think that has something to do with getting a uniform colour throughout. I cut back the fascia just a little bit. I've already thrown away the part that I cut off, but I cut it back about 1.5 inches or 2 inches. I always knew that there was more on there than I wanted. You can see I cut back every last bit that I had available at that corner because I wanted to leave as much viewing space as possible in that location. Anyway, next task is to build that retaining wall. So let me do that quickly and I'll be right back. Don't go away. Well, there it is with the retaining wall installed. That is now glued. The bridge is just resting in place. I wanted to make sure that there was plenty of air space underneath it. I wanted it to look as though a long span truss bridge was cheaper than a trestle. With the height of that valley, that would have been a very tall tower in the middle. So I think it looks like the single span truss bridge is cheaper. Some of that space will get filled in when I do the plaster, the rock carving. There's going to be a culvert through here, just a pipe coming out through one of those stone panels. I don't know which one yet. It's going to depend on the final shape of the land behind it. And I'll just put it in where it looks best. I'm assuming this is basically a dry canyon. It only gets wet when it rains. So a pipe is all that's needed. It doesn't need an expensive bridge down here. I'm still in two minds about this corner. I'm not sure whether to add a couple more retaining wall panels in there or to build it up with a rock outcrop. I haven't decided that, but I need to make that decision before I go any further. So let me do that and I'll be right back. Don't go away. Well, that is all the plaster cloth done. I haven't put any on the top here. That's because that's going to be sculptor mold on there, and that sticks better to the foam than the plaster cloth does. If I decide I want any rock outcrops out there, I will just come back and add a couple of pieces of plaster cloth locally. I'm not going to start rock carving today. It's already pretty late in the afternoon, so I'm going to leave it until tomorrow when I have most of the day available. So I'm going to go inside now, and I will check in with you tomorrow. Don't go away. Well, today's task is to get the rock carving done. The tools are pretty simple. I think I have everything I need here. I do have a whole bag of plaster of Paris that I bought for this job, but then I found a leftover partial bag that I'm going to use up first. When starting this step of a scenery project, the important thing is to get all the tools organized first, because once I start mixing plaster, I won't be able to run and get anything. So I'm just going through in my mind mentally one more time, just to make sure I've got everything that I need. And I think I have. So time to start mixing plaster. Don't go away, I will be right back. That is 2 batches of plaster completed. I've also used up all the leftover plaster from the old bag, and I'm just opening up the new one. I think next I'm going to continue along this rock face between the 2 tracks and then do the tall one at the end and then gradually work my way back the other way. So with that plan laid out, I'm going to get back to work. Don't go away, I will be right back. With one more batch carved, I've come to the first of the areas where I think I need to make a modification. I think overall I've got too much mass here. I want to cut it in a bit here. So I think I'm going to cut away that chunk and that chunk, cut about 1 inch deep in the foam so I can build it up again and get a bit more of a hollow there. I think it will look better, be a lot less uniform. So let me just make those changes and I'll be right back. Well, I like that much better now. I've got a big mass here, another one over there, and it goes in almost back to the track in the middle. And it also gives me a ledge part way up, because I always wanted to be able to get a few trees in there between the 2 tracks just to separate them visually. And now I can do that. I'm going to go and get some lunch, and then I'm going to come back out this afternoon and continue working around the end. So don't go away, I will be right back. I've done 2 more batches of plaster since I last made a recording. I've also had a bit of a clean up because I was buried in plaster chips, and also with all the rock work finished around these 2 tunnels and retaining walls, I figured it was time to get rid of the masking and see what I had. And I quite like what I've produced. I put a tape on it, and from the top of the cliff face down to the riverbed is a vertical drop off of just over 20 inches, so about 270 feet in N scale. I did decide to make one more alteration over this side. Previously the hill was a little bit higher and flat topped, and I've cut that back down at an angle, and I think that'll look better. So the cliff face will finish here, and that will be a dirt bank with trees on it. Anyway, I think I'm going to put another batch in down here, just below the low track, get the area behind the river finished, and then I will come back up and do the other side. So I'm thinking probably 4 more batches and I should be done. So don't go away, I will be right back. Well, I was sure that 1 batch was going to do all that area down there, but it didn't. I've still got a little bit up here by the end of the retaining wall and along the bottom below it, and I'm not happy with the waterfall yet, or the rapids. So I've got another batch here. That's going to be too much. So what I don't need for that area, I will just slap up here and start the other side of the canyon. So let me get back to work and I'll be right back. Don't go away. Well, I've got most of the way back up this side of the canyon. It's almost done. I think I need another rock outcrop up here. I want to take the rim up about 2 inches to about there, and then that'll be flat enough to put dirt and trees in there. I figure I need about 1 more cup of plaster, and I'm glad that's all I need because that's all I have left. I'm just about out. So I'm going to mix up a really small batch and finish that, and then I'm going to call that a day. So don't go away, I will be right back. Well, I think that cliff is a better height now. I'm happy with the way it's ended up, and so glad I had enough plaster. If I hadn't have found that other bag with just a little bit in, I wouldn't have had enough. But sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. Anyway, normally I like to get the first colour washes on as soon as possible to give them plenty of time to dry. But I'm not going to do that today. Zeus is out here with me. He's been very patient all afternoon, and it's time to go in and get him fed. I'm not going to keep him out here any longer. So I'm going to sign off for today, and I will check in with you tomorrow. Don't go away. Well, that's all for this week. I hope you enjoyed the show, found it interesting or useful or both, and I hope to see you back next time when I will complete this area of scenery. So until then, thanks for watching and bye for now.